And they have their small group
about Jest a little bit later on with our MVP speaker, Jitendra Zaa. Thank you very much for joining us, Jitendra.
Yay.
And we'll get our quick news and updates out of the way and hand it over to Jitendra to wow us with Jest and Lightning component testing. All right. All right, the loudmouths of the group are here. I'm Paul McCollum. I'm a consultant with SenseCorp. I am constantly looking for groups to lead and people to meet and networking to be had for education and learning. So reach out to me if you have any ideas for what you'd want to do with this group, within or without. We'll be talking about some of those developments here in the news a little later. Ame, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello all, I'm Ame Kulkarni. I'm here to help in any way I can and trying to give back as much as I can. That's pretty much about me.
Ame is fantastic. Moyez, the founder of The Feast.
Hi guys, Moyez Thanawala. I run a company in Dallas, a Salesforce consultancy, Thanawala Digital. You can find me on LinkedIn or by all means email me at moyez@t.digital. Glad to have you all here. Hopefully we'll have a wonderful event. Thanks.
All right, so, and as we're trying to generate buzz and get people aware of our group and bring them in, I've got these QR codes that allow you to quickly scan and create a tweet. So everybody who's on camera that's not doing it is not going to get to speak again. So Jitendra, I suggest that I'm watching everyone through the camera, not grabbing their phone and scanning the barcode. Yes, that's right. We've had one person already scan it. So anyway, I take all of the work out of it. You don't even have to type it up. Just scan it and go. If you're looking for other people to connect with or follow on Twitter, these are the names of some of the people that produce interesting content and are connected to our group in one way or the other. Although I need to reach out to Vicente. I haven't seen Vicente Lopez online in a while. And Lars should be here. I tagged him a couple of times, but oh well. All right, so these are our running stack champions. Thank you to everybody for your help putting sessions together. This is going well. We've made one change, I think, from what did we have before? I think we combined Apex and App Exchange into one and created an integrations stack. So I am looking forward to getting somebody who wants to play in the integration space and help us develop content for that. So that's new. The rest of them will really stand right now. Praveen is doing our Apex and App Exchange. Rachel Dishman with Flows. Sujay Nadkane, the in-platform dev, and Nathan with Lightning Web Components. And Nathan's here tonight as a panelist. And Nishita, who is still mid-motherhood, will hopefully be joining us soon to work on certification tracking and study. But if you've got any interest in participating in any of those areas, please let me know or reach out to any of the people listed there. It is open and welcoming, so anybody that can help bring content forward and get it in front of the group is welcome to be part of the team. News, Ame, you want to start us out there?
Sure. So basically what we are seeing here in the first bullet is our events calendar. That's a very handy feature. Please take benefit of that. And yeah, and then for job seekers, if you're looking for jobs, please feel free to ping your LinkedIn profiles in the chat. And people who are looking to hire someone on their team, please also ping on the chat so that people who are interested can reach out to you. You can either post your job rec or just your LinkedIn profile or email. Basically, it means for you to connect offline. We typically do that in the same room and we get a chance to talk, but because of this whole social distancing, we are going to rely on the Zoom chat feature for that. So for Salesforce for Youth and for the JS1 Certification Study Day, Paul.
Yeah, we can go and skip those. I have separate slides for those.
Right. Okay. All right. Moving on to the Dreamforce to You. So this year, the Dreamforce is coming to you. You are not flying to San Francisco, finding a hotel, and finding new shoes to walk all around. It is coming to you, so you can sit in your pajamas and watch it and listen from your home. So make sure that you, if you're interested, do sign up ASAP. And then the keynote is on December 2nd, and you can take that. I mean, I'll try to find a link for that and put it in the chat so that if you want to sign up, you can use that. Next one is Salesforce feature retirement. I mean, there are two that I would like to cover. One is Edge browser retirement, which is coming up this end of the year. So I'll try to see if I can find the link. Somehow I couldn't register those links, but I'll try and put it up in the chat. And the second one is for the API versions from 21 through 30, but that's 2 years down the line. There is still some roadmap there, but as FYI. The next one, email list problem. I think Paul or Nathan, would you like to cover that one?
Yeah, no, I was going to cover that. So I've had more than a couple people tell me that they are not regularly getting the email invites from Bevy, or that the information is not getting out. And I thought I would take a quick poll. If you're at the meeting and you've missed meetings or are missing the updates and haven't whitelisted anything, if you would kind of type into the chat and let me know whether you're getting them or not. Just as an informal poll, I'd like to know. If it continues, we may look at letting people subscribe or put their name on a private list, and then we can send out contact information from there. We can at least notify everybody from there. And that brings up another interesting point. Bevy is, it looks like they're trialing the Zoom plus Bevy features. That Bevy is going to get some kind of video conferencing features, and that will be running the entire user group, including the video conferencing through Bevy. So be ready for that to start showing up and for that to happen. So it's the only news from the Bevy update, or from the Bevy platform. All right, JavaScript certification study course. I've been working with Nathan Schulman, and Nathan and Anish have been working together on building a JS1 certification project. So really it's been up to Nathan. Nathan's been driving everything, whether we're gonna do a Salesforce Saturday or maybe a multi-week course. Nathan is putting those details together, and I think he's got some updates for us today. So Nathan?
Well, I actually have some really, really big news about this that I think everybody should be aware of, is that Focus on Force, I think it was like a few days ago, just released the JS1 certification course on their site. So I think what's going to, I mean, that's probably one of the most useful tools to study for certification. So I think this will become a supplemental course, place where we'll do some hands-on development, and hopefully we will have passed the JS1 certification by then. And I think we might be able to pull it off. And I'm thinking we've been talking about 2 to 3 weeks in February, like Saturday mornings, 8:30 to 10:30 online, or 8:30 to 10, something like that. So we'll have more news to follow, but the good news is the Focus on Force is available now, and we're studying really hard. There are 3 of us in a study group, and we plan on taking the exam in December. So hopefully we'll be able to help guide you to pass as well, assuming we all pass.
And so when do you think what's your approximate date for having that?
I think we'll have more information in December, and then once we figure out what we can do that supplements the tools that are available, because there are some really awesome resources online related to the JS1 certification. But I think we've done enough work that we could have really good supplemental training. So I think December we would let everybody know, and then send out a schedule, and decide if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or every Saturday in February. So more to come, but that's where we are now.
Great. Thank you, Nathan.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, so salesforceforyouth.com. We are going to revive that. We had to kind of table it. Sadly, it was supposed to go on June this year, but thanks to COVID, we had to scuttle it for the time being. I got to work with Gabriella and Guillermo Pedroni in their little Salesforce Saturdays, where they were teaching a group of about 20 8 to 12-year-olds kids. It was a great program. I'm never doing it again. That that was its own unique set of challenges, but but it inspired me. I saw enough lights go on and saw enough smiles that it made it worthwhile and made me want to restart Sales for You. So I'm hoping that around the winter holidays, we'll put together a class to offer it up, and then just start doing it maybe as every couple of months thing, where we do it just a weekend. We'll break it down into a little smaller group, a little smaller time block, probably about 3 hours, and teach basic badges, and then hopefully have some kind of follow-up session where we can, okay, Jack.
You don't have this link on a public website, do you? Because it looks like somebody came in and Zoom bombed us and left.
I didn't. I think we just went out to Twitter, though.
That
Sorry about that.
might be a problem. May want to lock the doors.
I don't know how to do that. I can require password, but the password's in the link. No,
Okay.
Sorry guys. We got some spam in our chat.
Then that's okay. It's only for panelists, right? They are only able to send a message to panelists.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Funny stuff. All right. But yeah, that person is not in the group, or at least I can't kick them out, but they're not in.
Yes,
All right.
I
Sorry
saw
about the
them
interruption,
disappear.
guys. But anyway, so that's coming up. I would love to have a couple of volunteers. Zoom has just added breakout rooms, and the ability to spin people off with a tutor inside the middle of a main session and then rejoin made a lot of what was going to be impossible with online hands-on teaching much better. So that will start to happen. If anybody's interested, please send me your name in chat or connect with me on LinkedIn, because we'll start trying to build up that force and get those going. All right, so next month, standing in for our TBD integration stack champion, I am going to put out a very low-level dev-friendly "What is MuleSoft and why should I care" presentation. I'm working on the MuleSoft developer certification right now, and have struggled to figure out what MuleSoft is and where it fits, and why I want to do anything with it. It is nobody ever seems to have the one answer for what MuleSoft is and does, and what it should replace in the marketplace, and it is. The edges are blurry. So Jitendra, I was going to ask and see if when we get that scheduled for, we said December 9th will be our next date. If you're around and available, I would love to have you help answer more advanced questions if you can fit into your schedule, but no need to answer now. But that's that'll be the upcoming session. All right. So without any further ado, Amey, do you have anything else before we kick off and hand over to Jitendra?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, Jitendra, thank you very much for offering to instruct us tonight. I will hand it over to you. Do you want to share your screen, or I think
Sure,
you can
yeah.
just start whenever you're ready. It should let you take over from me.
Yeah. And just started. Let me know if you all can see my screen.
I can.
Yes.
Okay. Let me adjust everything. Awesome. So I will start. So thanks everyone for giving me an opportunity to talk about Jest in today's session. So Before I'm starting and going to give my introduction, I would really like to thank the organizers of the Dallas group, developer group, Ame, Moiz, and Paul. I am also a group leader of Alpharetta, but really I'm impressed the way you guys are doing it, more like coming as a community instead of just only the leader and the organizers are organizing it. So Paul, Moiz, and Ame, I will say kudos to all of you, the way you are having handling the Dallas group mate. I just saw that salesforceforyouth.com website. That is awesome. Excellent work on that side as well. I'm really excited to see what comes there. Now I will, about me. So my name is Jitendra Zaa. I'm a senior technical architect at IBM, and I'm also a Salesforce MVP from last 7 to 8 years. I hold around 23 Salesforce certifications. If you want, you can follow me on my Twitter. My handler is same, Jitendra Zaa. I also have a blog. You can go ahead, visit my website blog. I do post technical articles there occasionally. This year, unfortunately, I have not able to contribute a lot because of my all ongoing certifications. Yeah, but I would like to have all of you on my blog and post the feedback, anything you have on that one. So coming back to the agenda. So today what we are going to talk is we will see what exactly is Jest. Why do we need a Jest? What is the need for that? We will also see how we can install it on our system, how to run it, and then I will go through some of the demos. And after each demos, we can have a Q&A. And feel free to post your questions to us. I have the question panel in my different monitors, so I would be able to monitoring it and able to answer it, or I will wait it for towards the end. So before we are going to talk about Jest or anything, right? The question is, why do we need testing? Either it's a unit testing or it's an end-to-end testing. So the Jest basically is a framework to provide the unit testing. Now there are multiple types of the testing that we have seen in our Salesforce environment. We do end-to-end testing, we do integration testing, regression testing. However, the most basic building block of any testing is the unit testing. Now in that case, we, as the name suggests, we test our code, our Lightning Web component in small part, and we assume that all those small units are going to work as expected, so that the whole complex solution that might be built up of like 20 units or 40 units would work exactly the way we want it. So that's why the unit testing is extremely important. Now there is a saying that any bug that is not detected in the design phase will cost 10 times more time to detect the same defect during the coding phase, and maybe the additional 10 times during the debugging phase. So if we see here, let's say we are going through the design phase, and if we found our logical error or anything during the design itself, the time required to fix that defect is just T. All you have to do, okay, go back, talk to your business partners and see, hey, is it a requirement missing, or we miss some scenario, or there's some edge cases. If we don't, if we are not able to capture that bug during the design phase, it would cost 10 times more time while we are doing the coding. So you go through the coding phase, and while building the code, you will come to know, okay, why my pieces are not working together, what is happening there, what the expectation is not there. If you get lucky, you get the defect on the coding phase itself. However, if we are still not able to get the defect during the coding phase, it will take total 100 times almost, as per the study, in the debugging phase. So it is very important, extremely important, to find the defect earlier in the software development. That is the reason a lot of organizations, lots of companies, lots of developer architects really push us for the test driven development, where you write a test first, and on the basis of that test you write a code later. Not every time that works, but however, we have to make sure that whatever the code that we are writing, we are able to unit test it properly. Now, one of the another best practices that we always must follow, and that's not only LWC, that goes for the Apex testing as well. Write a small chunk of the code. Now, normally one rule that I follow, and I have talked multiple times to the lot of developer groups in my online session, is try not to have any code more than 20 lines. Try to have each functions less than 20 lines. Now, the advantage of that part is you can unit test those 20 lines, then 20 lines. You give the input and you assert the parameter, you assert the output. Okay, this is what we're expecting from the output. Now, if you follow this design principle, you would be literally able to cover almost 98 to 100% of code coverage and all the assertions, all the requirement. But if you have very big monolithic code, either it's LWC or Apex, where each function is like 200 lines of code, 400 lines of code, imagine the problem. You might be able to relate. If you try to do the testing of this whole code block, you will get what? Timeout limit error, you get governor limit error, or your test classes are running very extremely slow, or if block is covered, else block is not covered, try is covered, catch is not covered. All those types of the problems are going to happen if you don't follow the proper best practices of the unit testing. So this is exactly the phrase that I just repeated is from the Nikolai, from the book of the art of debugging. And it's the very well-known book where we talk about the art of debugging any unit testing in our software development. So the question comes, what is jest? Why we all are talking about jest here? We know how the Apex test class works, right? Aura has been supporting Mocha framework, but as we all know that Mocha framework is not going to be used a lot because we are not going to use an Aura. So the question is, how do we use, how do we do the testing for the Lightning Web Component? Now the Lightning Web Component is built on top of modern web technology. So the most of the feature in the LWC is actually browser native based. Salesforce just have added some wells and whistles on top of that. For example, the decorators, wires, those are some extra functionality or extra capability that Salesforce has written, but almost 80 to 90% of the whole LWC is nothing but the modern web component. And that is the one of the advantage. We can use a modern library or modern framework, which is a jest. And jest is actually the tool to write a unit test for the JavaScript test. Now our LWC is also JavaScript based. And the best part about the jest is the ability to mock the response. So for an example, our Lightning Web Component is making a call to the Apex. Now imagine if you write the testing framework for that, talk how about the server performance, how about the latency, how long our code would execute. So instead of our testing framework making a call to the actual server, jest supports mocking that response. Now your LWC is expecting some, because all the response from the server or Apex in the LWC is basically a JSON. So all you have to do is just mock the JSON and you would be able to test your Lightning Web Component in isolation of the server side. Now, one more thing, in today's session, we are not really going to talk about what is Lightning Web Component, how to write the Lightning Web Component. The assumption is we know a little bit basics about the Lightning Web Component and the VS Code. And I will show you the demo. I have some code here that I can walk through and see how the jest and everything works together. Now, another information is it can collect the code coverage information. When we talk about the code coverage, it's not about the how many lines of code is covered. It means how many assertions, how many test cases have been passed, failed, how much time it took. So that kind of the information is provided by jest. Now the like I said, one of the best advantage of jest compared to Mocha or other framework that Aura was supporting is it runs completely locally. You will see in a demo, I'm not going to deploy anything on Salesforce server. I will create LWC. I will do all the changes to LWC. I will not even be deploying that code, but still jest would run and it will give me all the expected outcome. So if we take the official documentation or official definition about the jest, it is a delightful JavaScript testing framework with complete focus on simplicity. So let's talk about what are some of the prerequisites while using the jest. So number one, we need to have a VS Code. If I go on my system, I already have a VS Code installed. Number two, we need Node.js. In my system, I already have a Node.js installed. So if I click here, terminal, the way I know my Node.js is there is I can simply run a command node. That's it. Let's see. So, okay. Perfect. So my node version right now is 10.16. Next requirement for the jest is we need to have Salesforce extension pack installed in our VS Code. Again, that is also, if you are a developer, you have been using VS Code, that might be already there. So if I see, I have a lot of extensions installed, and one of them is, so extension pack comes with the Lightning Web Component, it comes with Apex, so those are all installed, all the extensions are installed, so I'm good there as well. Now the last thing is we need to install SFDX LWC Jest node module, and that is also installed in my case. So let's talk about what do we need to do to install Jest. So we have to run this command, but before that I have to create a Salesforce DX project. I already have created Salesforce DX project. All you have to do is Control Shift P, and give me 1 minute here. Just everything. Perfect. Control Shift P, and you can create a project with manifest here. If you see, I have already created, so I will just open the Dallas group mate. This is the project, completely empty. I have nothing here. As a best practice, let me initiate the Git here. Again, you don't need to know about Git, but it gives very nice color combination, which I really love about Git. So I will just initiate Git. So as you can see, all the green means these are all the new files. Now all I will do is I will stash them, and I will say git commit initial project. Perfect. So as you can see, everything is in Git. If I make modification anywhere, I would be able to see using the color combination. So that is the only purpose I used Git, to get the nice colors here in my VS Code. So let's try to run this command. I am going to run this command, just copy paste it in your terminal. So you go in the VS Code, you open the terminal tab, and here you just paste it. It will take some time, but let's come back on our slide. And as you can see, once the installation is completed, you'll see something like this, that okay, Jest is installed. And then every time we need to run a Jest, this is the command that we need to run. Now this is the problem, right? Who would be able to remember this long command? But don't worry, there are very simple ways, multiple ways that we can run a Jest. So SFDX already has an entry in package.json, and let me show you that after that. All you have to do is just run npm run test unit, and you will automatically get a code coverage. If you want to get that, just use test unit coverage. So let's go back on my VS Code. And as you can see, it's already installed. It actually did nothing. Let's go on the package.json, and this is, so whenever we are going to create a SFDX project on the recent VS Code version or the recent Salesforce DX version, you see, so all line number 11 to line number 14, Salesforce already have added for us. And because of this test unit, it's already there. Just watch, debug, everything is there. All you need to do now is just run this command. However, you don't even need to run this command as well. I will show you how, using simple UI on the VS Code, you would be able to do everything. And for that, we have to go back and we have to create our very first Git project. But before we go there, let's try to understand a few more things here. So first of all, we have to create a LWC component. When we create LWC component, we have to create a folder underscore test in that component. If you have a data, we create a data folder also inside test. Now the most important part is we need to tell force ignore that don't deploy anything which is related to the Jest. So give me 1 minute and let's try it. I am going to create a very first project in Salesforce DX. And for that, Let me create a new component here. 1 minute. So no changes there. So like I said, first thing we have to do is go in the force ignore. And as you can see, Salesforce automatically said any folder named __ test, don't do anything to that. So I'm going to create a new Lightning Web component. Control Shift, create a Lightning Web component. This is the name, unit test. Create in LWC folder. Now it is in LWC folder. As you can see, I have everything is in green, and I would be very easily able to understand what I have been working on. So what we have to do, first step is, we are not going to do anything with the Lightning Web component at the moment. Let's see how the jest works. So I'm going to create a folder using this icon, as you can see at the top. And my folder name is going to be __ test. Yes. Now in the test folder, we can create our all the jest related changes. So for that, but before that, force ignore we already saw here. What I will do is I will create a file named sum.test.js. And I already have the code here. All we have to do is do this. So let's see, this is the very simple syntax of the jest, and let's try to understand what is there. So all you have to do is, first of all, you have to import the component or the file that you're trying to test. So let's say we are trying to test a JavaScript file named sum. Of course, we don't have a sum file here. It is going to throw an error. That's okay. So any jest starts with describe. And in the describe method, you have to give the first argument is the description, okay, what it is going to do. So it is going to do the testing on the sum. Second parameter is the anonymous function. And it's an error annotation. And here you are going to write your whole code. So this is this block. You can write whatever you want to do. And in this block, we are going to do some assertion. So we are saying that again, it's a 2 parameter. So just is very simple to understand. Any method has 2 parameter. First parameter is just a description, what it is going to do, so that the nice user interface would be displayed. And then second parameter is actual method, that okay, what it's supposed to do. So what it's supposed to do is, it is going to call some method, and it is going to provide a number 1 and number 2. And then it is going, once this method is executed, it is expecting that this method is going to return 3. Again, the expect is the keyword in the jest. And to be is just like certain methods that we have in our Apex. So assertions like assert equals, not equals, those kind of stuff. So very simple. Let's try to run it. So like I said, the way we run jest, let's try all the ways here that is written. So first thing is, either you can run this. Let's see if it works here. Okay, let's see what just happened. Let's try to run this one.
Hey, Jitendra, can I pop in for some news that I forgot to ask everybody to do? Just quickly while you're fixing that. While we have kind of our peak number of people, at the end of the Zoom, I've got a survey going out asking about topics and content. If you guys would please fill that out. I hopefully will remember to remind everybody at the end, but just as you get the post-Zoom survey, would you please fill that out and give us some feedback on those things? Just 2 questions really quick. Thanks, Jitendra.
Yeah, no problem. So I think let's try now again. So we will run the same long command again. So as you can clearly see what just happened. So I run that long command that is in my PowerPoint, and I will share that PowerPoint after this meeting. So once I run, it is saying that it is not able to find a file named sum. And that's true. I have not created any file yet named sum, so that is going to fail. That's okay. But at least it shows that how the jest test classes or tests can be run. So that is that's one way. Another way is we can use this command npm run jest. So let's copy that and run. We are going to get exactly same output that okay, it failed. Let's see. Okay, I think this is the way it gives an output. Another way, so those are the two ways. And again, you still don't need to remember all these commands. Another way you can do is go on this tab. Wait. Yeah, go on here, this lab icon. In the lab icon, you see three options. So one is a Java test, LWC test, and Apex test. I have a Java because Java is installed here. Ignore the Java, but LWC right now has a method named sum, and as you can see, sum is appearing here. All you have to do is just click on this icon, and it will run the same command. It will give you the same output. So again, you no need to remember any command. So that is a one way. And as you can see, it failed. So it rendered as a red here. If you want to change, yeah, some dot test is there. And inside that, as you can see, the description should add 1 and 2 and return. So this description is coming from this file. Okay. So as we can see, it failed. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a sum.js file. Simple Java. So all we know that in the Lightning Web Component, you can create a JavaScript file. So we already have unit test.js. Let me create one more. Let me say what is sum.js, and so it's very simple method. We are saying that okay, there is a JavaScript method named sum. It is going to take the two inputs and it is going to return the output of the addition of those two inputs. So if we see that, so sum file is already there, and in the class, as you can see, first line, it is importing the sum.js. So let's run that test again. So that is another way that I normally use is I am already on this file. All I have to do is just click on this icon which says run test. I'm going to click on this. So there is already three ways of running the jest. This is the fourth way where we can run a jest. And here I'm saying, okay, run this test again, and let's see what happens. So as you can see, it passed. One pass, it took 1.9 seconds. And another thing is, if you have observed, I have not yet deployed on my Salesforce. I have not said here that, okay, go back here, right click and deploy. Actually, I don't have org connected here. Let me quickly connect an org. So I already have lots of org. Let's connect 29 org here. So as the org is already connected here, even if I right click here, I say, I did not ever say the deploy. So everything is working locally. And that is the reason jest is extremely powerful. So I will stop here. Let me see if anyone have any question. Okay, so I don't see anyone with any question. So what I will do is I will go ahead on the next one.
Yeah, ask questions in the Q&A section if you've got it, and then once you put it in there, I'll unmute anyone who has questions.
Yeah, because yeah, we are going to go see lots of demos, so it might be easy to ask the question on that demo that time itself, so that we are not losing train of thoughts. Okay, so the another thing is this underscore. So let's go on the next demo. So this sum.test really does not have anything to do with our Lightning Web Component. If you are thinking, the only reason I created sum.test is just to show what is the syntax of the jest, how it works, how do we import the file, how do we start the jest using describe. Now this describe is like a test suite. In this test suite, you can have multiple tests. So for an example, I can have something like this. I can have something like this. And if you go on this lab icon, now you will see I have a 3 test. So this is what is the syntax of jest. So let me delete all of these. And I am going to create the actual test. So I'm going to follow the test-driven development. I am not going to write any code directly on the unit test. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a test file first, and then we will come back and we will change our code. So let's do test-driven development here. So I'm saying I'm going to write a test for unit test.test.js. So I'm already here, and let me copy my code here, and let's see what this code is doing. Perfect. So first what we did is we are going to test this lightning web component, which is a unit test. So let me close all of these. So just like for the previous code, so in the sum.test, right, we imported sum. Same way, we are importing our unit test lightning web component, which is the unit test component here. We are also importing create element because we are going to use that one. Now we started with the describe. Now, just like a test suite in our Apex class, whenever the test is done, we need to do some cleanup. So here also, blindly what you can do is just copy paste this code every time whenever you write a jest. And what it is doing is, when the lightning web component gets created in the DOM during the test, and it is possible that you are going to have multiple tests, like multiple 8. So for that, it will execute and it will remove that lightning web component from the DOM so that your next test would not get impacted. Otherwise, if you don't write this code and you have 3 or 4 tests, you might see the different output. So this is the best practice. Just do that for all the first child, just remove your whatever the childs you have. And this is our first test. So it's very simple. What we did is we created an element, which is our lightning web component. Okay, and we are saying this element type is the type number 2. So this create element came from here. So jest is instructing lightning web component that, hey, go ahead, create a lightning web component of type unit test. And what I'm expecting is element has a property named unit number, API property, that needs to be 5. Okay, and then once that is done, we are going to change its HTML type. So HTML got changed, and after that we are expecting, hey, now the HTML is changed, get the div, and in that div there is a text content, and the content of the test should be unit 5 alive. However, if you see, our unit test is completely blank, our JavaScript is also blank, and in this case, if I run this test, of course I'm going to get an error. So let's try that. If I run test here, to see what kind of errors we are going to get here. So we got an error, and the error that we are getting is here. What is happening? Terminal. Okay. It says this unit test failed. Okay, because it didn't find the unit number there. So we have to go back. Now this is a test-driven development. Before writing the code, actual code itself, you already set the feature that this code is going to have the unit number API. This code is going to use the this lightning web component is going to have a div tag, and the content in that div tag is going to be unit x alive, and that value x would come from the method sum. So now let's go ahead and fix everything. So what we need to do first is let's add the lightning card component in our HTML. Very simple. We added a lightning card component, and here we are saying unit, whatever the value we are going to pass is going to be alive. Now after that, let's write very simple JavaScript, hard-coded. So what I did, so here I imported the sum file. We already have sum.javascript, and I calling the same sum method. And this time I'm giving the, again, hard-coded argument 2 and 3. Now this unit number is a API, and that is the reason unit number I am going to access directly. So once I set up the unit number, whatever it is, right, then I am appending it, and I'm trying to see if that changed or not. Okay. So let's see here what is happening. Going to run test again. Now, as you can see, it passed because the unit 5 is alive. Let's go ahead here and saying, hey, I want 3 plus 3, and I change that file again. I am not committing anything inside Salesforce. Everything is happening locally on my system. And if I go back here, I click on the run test again. You'll see now it failed because it is expecting 5, but what actually returned is 6. So let's have here actually also. So here I'm going to say 6, and here also I'm going to say unit 6 alive. I change that or run a test. and it successfully passed. So that's another demo. That now this time what happened is, so first demo we did is any random JavaScript file, how exactly the jest works, what is the syntax. Now in this demo, we actually instantiated our Lightning Web Component here. We created an element of type our Lightning Web Component. This is where we are importing it. And then we are calling the API method unit number to see what is the unit number value. And the unit number value we have hard coded here using 3 plus 3 is 6. So once the unit number is added in the JavaScript side, so we tested line number 5 using this. And we tested our HTML part saying that unit whatever alive using, we got the div element using query selector. And once we got the div element, we are getting the div element's text content, and we are checking what is the content of that text, unit 6 alive. If somehow I go here and I use something else here, let's say unit, or let's say I add some value here. And now if I'm going to run, of course it is going to fail because, so it is going to pass the JavaScript part, which is line number 17, but it is going to fail line number 24 because line number 7, this line is checking the JavaScript file and this is checking how we can use an HTML here. Okay, so let me go back here and change everything. So that's our another demo. So if anyone have any question, please let me know.
Jitendra,
Okay.
this is Moyes.
Yeah, Moyes, yeah.
Sir, so right now, as you run this, it's running on your local node engine. Is that correct?
That is right. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So really, you can run. So the HTML gets instantiated where? I'm a little bit lost on how the HTML gets instantiated so that you can reach the div in the test.
Yeah, very good question. So the HTML got instantiated here, line number 13. So what we did is we said that, okay, we are going to write a test suite for the Lightning Web Components unit test. And the very first test suite says, hey, go ahead, create an element. And that element's type is this one, C unit test. And it is the argument unit test. If you see line number 2, line number 2 is telling that what element you want to create. Let's say you have hundreds of Lightning Web Component. Which Lightning Web Component do you want to create? Oh, I want to create this one. So once you pass this parameter in the memory of the jest created a Lightning Web Component. Now this is not running on the browser. We don't need browser. Everything is happening in the memory. You cannot see what is happening in output, but you can still go ahead, assume that everything worked properly and check if this really worked. That means this element has an API property named unit number. If this fails, that means there is no unit number because unit number is API here. So to answer your question, Mo, very good question. The instantiation is happening on the line number 14 to 16.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and to further on that, all of this is happening in the virtual DOM. So the way Lightning Web Components, just an extension of it, is the node engine is creating what should be represented in the browser and sending that initial payload to the browser. And the Lightning Web Components, they have a custom transpiler that's sending the deltas between the virtual DOM and the initial instance of the DOM. So it's tracking changes of what should be in the browser and sending those up in small packages.
Good point, Paul. Yeah, very good. So basically here the jest and Node.js is working together. Jest is just the node module. You're right. So we call the jest calls the Node.js because Node.js is nothing but the version 8 V8 compiler, right? So that creates all the whatever needs to be created in the browser. The only thing is the headless. We are not able to see any output, but behind the scene, everything got created. And once this is all done, when after each it finish, it goes back and it deletes the LWC component using line number 7 to line number 9. Okay, let's see, run again. Everything is working as expected. Awesome. Any other question, anyone?
Yeah, one quick question. So are these lines of code counted towards the limit? Typically, the test classes are not, but how does it work with jest?
Very good question, Amay. So first thing, Salesforce does not force LWC or jest testing. So even if we don't write any jest, it is not going to be enforced by the Lightning Web Component Engine or the Salesforce. However, if you are working on a big enterprise project where you are having tons and tons of LWC, and just we discussed, right? Even though if Salesforce is not enforcing the unit test, we should have a best practice to go back and test all our jest classes. So if you see on the GitHub or anywhere, we have Lightning based components and everything. Salesforce has __ test folder everywhere. So to answer your question, it is not counting any code. It's just a best practice we are trying to do.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to that point, we in one of our project we did that. It's always let's say if you're working on the client project, right? Client will always come back and say, hey, what is the ROI? What business value I am getting of it? It is just a background, right? Business are not getting any output. So as an architect, we really have to make a very big argument or good argument with them that even though there is no benefit of the business, but time to market in the future, if you want to add more, keep adding more and more functionality on the Lightning Web Component, it would make sure that it's not breaking and we are not wasting time in the regression testing and end-to-end testing. Because if we don't have this one, eventually we will spend some time and it will cost a lot of money to the business users.
Right. And this will also fit in the Agile manifesto too, because whatever you're building, it's bulletproof.
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome.
No.
Thank you.
And as you can see, it's extremely easy, right? What we did, just imagine what we did till this point. All you have to do is just copy paste. You only replace line number 2. Line number 2 say, hey, I want to use this Lightning Web Component. Okay, great. This for loop is always going to be after each blindly you can write every time. Okay. This is exactly same syntax. First parameter, what is the name of your test suite or test class? Okay. This is always going, line number 14 to 16 is always going to be there. All you have to do is just give the Lightning Web Component name here and say what is the Lightning Web Component, and that's it. Write whatever logic we want here, right? So really the only line that is going to be changing from this line 29 is literally these 4 lines most of the time. This is going to be our logic and everything else is the boilerplate. Okay. So let me move to the next topic. So we already saw this one. We already saw how to create a jest. We saw a very simple demo. Now the very important thing, which is a little bit tricky, is changing the Lightning Web Component attributes. So let's say we have a Lightning input element and you write something there. So right now what happened is we hard coded 3 and 3. But what if you want to take that input from somewhere? So the changes from HTML to the JavaScript side in the Lightning Web Component happens asynchronously. And this is a very key part here. Unfortunately, the way that we did is not going to work. Okay, and let's see why it is not going to work and what is the solution to that. So I'm going to keep that test case. I'm going to create another test case here. And let's see what I just did. So again, this is the same boilerplate. I'm saying, okay, go ahead, create the Lightning Web Component. Okay. And then I'm saying, I want to set unit number 6 myself. I don't want it to set by the method. Okay. And then we are going to see if it is going to work or not. And let me go on just here. Let me roll back everything here. And what is going to happen? Let's see. So if I run this method, run test, I got failed. Why it failed? Because I'm expecting that unit to be 6. Why? Because we just set up the unit as a 6. It's an API, right? So that means in this file, even though 2 plus 3 is written 5, when this document was created using the create element, after that we went ahead and we changed the unit number to the 6 or 7. But the problem is jest runs synchronously, and when you want to change the unit number, it runs asynchronously. It's not like our code is wrong or our jest is wrong. So what just happened is unit number 6, it happened, but it happened in a different thread. By the time it became 6 and we tried to expect in the single thread, it is still 5. Maybe it becomes 6 after 1 second or 2 seconds, but we don't know how much time it took to change 5 to 6. So this is really a problem. Okay. And fortunately, we do have a solution on how we are going to fix it. So all we have to do is introduce a promise now. So all we will do is unit 6 alive, and we will say instead of dot to be, we will say not to be. We are not expecting 6 alive because it's still 5 alive, and we are going to introduce the promise. So if you're preparing for the JavaScript certification, you might already know, or you need to at least know what are the promises and everything. So promise is nothing but in the JavaScript world, a synchronous, anything which is running is synchronous. It's a hookup method that once the processing is done, promise would get executed. So what just happened is the moment we change unit number 6 and we are saying that, okay, the assertion should be in callback method, and we are saying that this should execute only when this asynchronous call get executed. So we did really nothing. It's exactly same. The only thing now we did is we introduced a promise dot resolve, and once the promise is resolved, once we get the callback, then this time you run the expect. So let's see how it works now. I go back here, and now this time it passed. So this is very simple trick, that any property that we are going to change in our Lightning Web component, that property changes asynchronously. And in order to assert that assert or expect, all we have to do is just use the promise here. So I will stop here, and let's see if anyone have any question on this demo. No?
I don't see any, nothing's come in yet.
Okay, cool. So I will go ahead and I will proceed to more advanced example. I hope we are able to, so we saw a few examples. We saw very simple sum.js. Then we saw very simple how the Lightning Web component assertion works. Then we went one step ahead. We saw that, okay, how do you change the public property? Changing the public property is not the same thread, not the synchronous, it is asynchronous. And to wait for the processing to be completed, we have used a promise. Now let's go one more step advance and see how can we handle events. Let's say click events. Okay. So again, I'm going to do the test driven development first. I'm going to write my test suite first, and then I will go back and I will change the component here. So all I have to do now is, let's see what I just did. So this is now third test. Now again, how many tests we have? VS Code, extremely powerful. Go in the lab icon, and you would be able to see all the tests here. So as you can see, some had one test. So this test suite had a one test. Second test suite has a 3 test, and so on. So let's see what exactly happening. Again, like I said, this is always going to be there. This is always going to be there. Now what I'm saying is, select the Lightning input. I'm assuming that there is a Lightning input base component is there, and that base component is changing the value to the 7 this time. So what we just did in unit.js is we changed this number. I want the unit number to be changed using Lightning Web component, whoever is typing. The thing is, whenever you type, the change event happens, and on change event, you are going to have some method. That method will nothing but change the unit number. Okay. And if that happens, we want to raise, so this is the this is the line. Line number 58 is the heart and soul of this test case. How do you dispatch event? Exactly same way. You use the input element, which is our Lightning Web component here, sorry, Lightning input. And the Lightning input is dispatching a custom event named change. So of course, we are going to run this. It is going to fail. This time I'm going to run whole set. So we have about 4 tests. I'm expecting out of the 4, 3 is going to pass and 1 going to fail. Let's see how that works and how much performance that is. Perfect. Actually, it says 2 failed. Okay, so let's see which one is failed. So here it says, oh yeah, I actually changed. It's not unit 6 alive, it's unit 5 alive because I changed the parameter. Let's run it again. Still fail. What is there? 2 plus 3 is 5 alive. 5 alive. Okay, here. 5 alive.
Hey, Sujay, could you enter a question into the Q&A just to make sure that that's working, please?
Okay, so it worked, but again, as expected, this didn't work because in our HTML, we don't have any component named Lightning input, and that's the reason we got an error saying, hey, the input component that you're trying to see is not there. So I will go back here and let's add our HTML component now. So what I'm going to do is I will go in our unit test.html and maybe here inside Lightning card, we can have our Lightning input. Very simple. So I'm saying, okay, this is unit number, value is going to be unit number, and do something on the change, handle change. Of course, we have to go back and we have to write our handle change method here. So again, that is going to be very easy. All I'm going to do here is I read an event, I read a target, I get the value, and I set the unit number, whatever is change here. So now let's see how it is going to work. So again, we checked if the Lightning input exists there. If yes, set the value as 7. The moment you set the value as a 7 here, it is going to call handle change event, and handle change event is this. It is going to assign that value 7 to the unit number. So we are setting the value from, we are literally emitting what user enters, and we are emitting that or simulating that using our test method. Now we are going to assert the unit number really became 7 or not. And we did that using dispatching a change event. And when the change event is completed, again, everything is asynchronous. We need to use our promise. And then we are saying we set the units, user entered unit 7. So it should be unit 7 here. So let's save everything and run the whole test suite. Perfect. So as you can see, 2 test suite, both passed, total 4 tests, everything passed, total time it took is around 2.8 seconds. So again, I will pause here, and before we go to our last topic, let me know if anyone have any question on how to write jest. Anyone? Either I'm too good, I'm too bad in explaining.
No, this is great. Sorry, let me.
Okay. So assuming I did good job and you really understood the small multiple demos, I will go to the last part, complex part, that okay, this is very simple. There is no intervention with the Apex, but most of the Lightning Web component is going to talk to Apex. So how we are going to simulate that? Okay, how we are going to imitate that? Okay, what is the response of the Apex and how we are going to hook that response to the jest? So for that, let me go back on my PowerPoint. So we already saw this one, we already saw demo, we already talked about changing the LWC attribute is not a straightforward, you have to use the promises. Now let's talk about, like I said in one of the initial slides, one of the best advantage of the jest is we can mock that what is we are expecting from Apex, so that we no need to worry about the latency or actual time took between the LWC component and Apex call, right? And because this is a local. So there are three types of adapter that Salesforce provides. One is a very generic wire adapter for the different like show toast or the navigation services, etc. Another type of the adapter is Salesforce provides us the ability to use a Lightning data service, and using the Lightning data service, we can query using Lightning data service, we can query the data like account or contact. So in Lightning data service, we are really not writing any Apex class, but still, if needed, we can go ahead and we can assert the response that is expected from the Lightning data service. Now the third adapter, which is our interest, which demo I'm going to show you, is the Apex wire adapter. So in this example, we are going to make a call to the Apex. Not going to make a call to the Apex. We are just going to mock that response and see how that's going to work. So I will not show the demo of the generic wire adapter and the Lightning data service. It's exactly similar. But I will show you the link where you can go ahead and you can try, and I will directly jump on Apex wire adapter. So give me just 1 minute.
And Jitendra, in the background, we've been, Nathan and I have been testing to make sure that the Q&A system works. So it is working. I think everybody's just gobbling up what you're giving to us.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Okay, so let's jump on the last demo, and I'm gonna close everything so that I don't get confused on all these files. All this green, I will get it away. I will say git add, git commit. Everything turns white, which is what I like. Okay. So let's start on this one. And if I'm going too fast, please let me know.
Sorry, there is nothing for me to resume.
That's the problem of having XYZ in my room. I will not use the word.
Yep, got the Alexa.
Oh my God, you said that. So again, create a Lightning Web component. My Lightning Web component is wire Apex. Let's create there. So again, it become green. So I will know what I'm working on. First thing I will do, like I always do, is I will create a folder, and the folder name is __test __. Now I am also going to create some JSON. So I'm going to create a folder inside test named data. I'm going to put value in that data later, but let's go on the test first. And I'm going to create a file here. Give me 1 minute. And the file name in the test is wire apex.test.js. So as you can see, this file is inside test, not inside data. In the data folder, I'm going to put all my JSON, the output that I'm expecting here, and I'm going to copy my code that I have, and then I will describe that code in detail, that okay, what I'm trying to do. Again, it's a test-driven development. I will write actual code later, but I will show what the test is here. So it's around 80 lines of code, but okay, very easy. So first thing, we already know in order to create the Lightning Web component, Moise asked excellent question. This is the line, create element, which is responsible to create a element in the virtual DOM. We are going to test our wire Apex Lightning Web component. It is there as well. And here we are saying that we are going to use an adapter from the jest for the mockup, and we are using that one. And there is going to be one Apex class. Lightning Web Component is going to be using an Apex class, and in that Apex class account controller, there is going to be the method. So whenever the Lightning Web Component is going to call this method, use whatever is written inside it. So if we go back here, as we can see, first thing is I'm doing is I'm getting the sample JSON. Now I have a two JSON, one with actual records and one without any record. Okay, of course I have not added those JSON in my data folder. It is going to fail, which is fine. And then now what I'm saying is register wherever the Lightning Web Component is going to call this Apex class. Do not call the Apex class. Okay, use this adapter. Okay, so we are saying that whenever this is going to be using, we are going to use this adapter, and this adapter is going. So emit method is very important here. And if I go in my presentation, we have to use the method emit to mock the response. So it said that whenever Lightning Web Component is going to make a call out to this method, to this method, do not call it, rather return this data. So mock data, here we said return this. That's it. Now, so what's going to happen is now connected callback or whoever is calling that one, I got the JSON. Once I got the JSON, again, getting the JSON is a synchronous process. So we are using the promises here again. Now we are saying that get every paragraph element and validate what is the length of the paragraph element. And our length, we already know, whatever the length of the JSON, sorry, that length is going to be the account, because that's what we are sending in a JSON. We expect exactly same element rendered on the HTML side. And then we are saying validate that first name on HTML side, 0 is the first element, is exactly equals to the first element that is returned by the JSON. Okay, let's try to run. We know it is going to fail, but let's see what is the error we are going to get. So the first error that we are going to get is there is no data file. Let's see exactly. There's no data file because we do have a data folder, but we don't have a JSON that we are expecting to return from Apex. So let me copy that JSON. So I'm going to create a JSON name get account list, this one, in data folder. And I'm also going to create this JSON which does not have any record. And if there is no record in Salesforce, all Salesforce does is it returns a blank array. So that does the JSON work. But let's see what we are going to return from account JSON. So let me copy. I'm only going to return ID name, ID name, ID name. So this is the sample. So as you can see, we are returning how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 JSON. We are going to return 6 accounts. Each account is going to have ID field and each account is going to have a name field. Let's try to run our code again and see what happens. So we are not going to get an error here. We are not going to get an error here, definitely. However, the error that we are going to get this time is going to be on the P, because we have not returned anything in our LWC component here. It's completely blank, but let's see what is the error we will get here. So as you can see, the error is, okay, exactly. The error is P. So account element returned, of course, null. You cannot have null.length. So that's an error. And let's try to fix that error. So first thing what we will do is we will change our HTML, and it's very simple. We will have a for loop. We got a for loop, and inside that for loop, we are going to render a paragraph element. Paragraph element is going to be key as an account ID, because we need to have a key, otherwise it will give an error. All the for each in Lightning Web Component is to have that. And we are simply rendering the account name in a text. So if I go back here, let's see what we are. So we got all the paragraphs. It's around going to be 5 or 6 that is written. And in that, we are saying, okay, how many paragraphs are there? So the total number of paragraph P is going to be the total number of the element in the JSON, which is around 1, 2, 3, 6. So that matches. Now we are saying whatever the first element's text contain, the count should be same. Okay. Or what we can do is we can do this, or we can also do something like this. As this is our JSON, we know that the first element is H communications. So we are saying that the first element expect this H communication to be matching with this name. Let's see if that works. Perfect. Let's say where it failed. Okay, right. We did talk about HTML part, but really there is no wiring service here. No one is making any Apex call out. So of course we have to go back here and we have to change this code. We will keep this code extremely simple. And again, I'm not deploying anything. It's all the local kind of the compile time, not the runtime. Sorry, I will take back. It's a runtime, but it's a local. So again, all I did is I am saying that there is an Apex class by this name, and whoever is calling the get account list, this data you should be returning is actually this data. And again, how LWC or the gist is checking that one using this line number 4. So we told on the line number 4, whoever is making a call out to this string, do not call Apex class. And Apex class does not even exist at the moment. So if we go on our wire Apex, I have not done right click, deploy this to the source, because I know if I do that, it is going to fail. Okay. So that's it. Our wire service is there. Hopefully now it should work. If I go run test. Okay, it failed again. Why? It's not an edge. Okay, communications. Need one S. Let's try that. Perfect. As you can see, everything worked like a charm. Now another thing is, let's test what would happen if there is no record return. If there is no record return, in that case, we are saying that the total number of length is going to be the 0, whatever we have. If I run this test also pass. Now, what would happen if there is any error? So this is very good. Last example, very good example. If you want to raise, because it is possible that your server throws 500 error or your Apex class got some kind of error, you need to test the negative scenario as well. And the line number 71 is the magic line here. So if you want to raise intentional error, use the method dot error. And as we all know, if I go here, we have if else here, that if the value is in data, that means it is success. If the value is in error, that means it is in error. And then we have error here, error element. If you go on HTML, if there is an error, the value that we are printing is no accounts found. So if we go back here, we are texting, if there is any error, the HTML should render no accounts found. So I will go back here, run a test. And as you can see, everything passed. I go back on my lab icon. So total, if you see, I have total 3 test suite, and the total test is 1, 3, 3, around 7. Let me run everything. As you can see, I deployed 0. I deployed nothing on any of my org. Everything is local. And as you can see, it is very clear message that okay, all the test suites are passed. That 7 tests, and the total time it took is around 2.43 seconds. So Tim, that's how, if anyone have any question, let's see.
We don't have any questions posted yet. Now, if you were getting any Salesforce data, it would be doing that through web service calls, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so could you theoretically run this without an internet connection, or is it? I want to say it's even authenticating through Salesforce to some extent whenever you first start this project, and that there's web services to even get started.
Paul, very good question. So right now it's completely local off. I have not deployed anything on my Salesforce org. So Wire Apex LWC is not even on Salesforce yet. I have not created any Apex class. So let's assume if it was running on Salesforce server, I would immediately get a compiler error saying that get account list does not exist because there is no Apex class named account controller. So answer, everything is running locally. I will try to check without internet connection, but again, I have to leave this meeting, but I'm pretty fast. Yeah. I'm pretty
That's
fast.
how my demos go. And let me show you how this works without a connection. Oh, click.
Yes. Good question, Paul. Yeah. So that is one of the main advantage when we started Jest. So in Aura component, we used to have Mocha. We have to use the static resources. We have to use the developer console. Lots of problems there. Now, one of the advantage that I loved about Jest is everything isolated locally. It just assumes, so in the MVC design pattern, this is the view part. Jest is really testing the view part, assuming your controller part, which is an Apex, is already working as expected. So in order to test an Apex, we are going to have Apex test classes. In order to use the front part, Lightning Web Component, we are going to have a Jest. Okay, another thing is, it is not going to do whatever I write, it is not going to be deployed on the Salesforce at all. Why? Because in force ignore is the file where we say ignore whatever mentioned here while deploying to the Salesforce. We said that any folder with __ test is going to be ignored. So it is not even on the Salesforce server. So the question is, what is the benefit? So the benefit is your continuous integration pipelines. So you must be having a gate, you must be having a pipeline there. When someone is creating a pull request, you must be deploying it somewhere, right? As a developer, we have to have that in our project, even to some small extent. So that is the time where our deployment pipeline can run all the Jest, and it can just see if that is passing or not. If you see on the GitHub, any like React library or the Angular library, they literally has a Jest indicator saying that, okay, how many components are passing. So that is one advantage. GitHub out of the box supports the Jest. All you have to just deploy it in the Git and let it run.
Outstanding. That was delightful.
Yeah. So let's see. I still don't see any question. Let me go back to my resources slide.
Okay. We're about at our time limit anyway, so it's almost my bedtime too. But this has been fantastic. I've gotten good feedback already. So.
Thank you. So we have Trailhead module. We have a very complex Jest example on Trailhead recipe. I have provided that URL, so you can go ahead here. You can see all the possibility, what are some advanced version of the Jest, how the Salesforce themselves are writing. So I was really inspired by this class. It's around 200, but I will say it's worth of looking at how the Salesforce is using the Jest here. Okay, let me see one thing.
Jitendra, did Salesforce make mock Jest code for every single recipe item?
They should, yeah, they should be. Let's see, they should be creating for the recipe. So if I
Saying, 'cause
go, yeah,
that's a
I
gold
see,
mine.
yeah. So if I go on the LWC here in the recipe, let's assume this one, yeah, they are. They are.
Okay.
Exactly, yeah. So this is really, you go on the recipe and learn from them, right? Live, that how they have done something. Yeah, good question. And the last one is the Salesforce documentation. You can go ahead here. It explains exactly almost same thing, maybe more that I have explained, that how everything works together. Okay, and then we also have a Trailhead. So, team, thank you so much for having me in today's group meet. I hope you learned something new. Maybe you're not able to use in project, or maybe you would be able to use a project. At least you know what is jest and what are the capabilities of the jest.
That's outstanding, Jitendra, and thank you very much for letting me help mold this this presentation. Jitendra and I talked for about an hour, and he had a couple of ideas, and I was very, very picky, and I thought this would appeal to the group. So I've already heard a couple people getting out of it. Thank you very much for tailoring this presentation directly to our group. Please let me know if I did okay and got everybody the topic they want and they found value. So in that post Zoom survey, I'd really appreciate if you fill that out and gave us the feedback on that. Thank you very much, sir. Moyez, did you have anything to say, Kodon?
Jitendra, thank you very much. That was quite enlightening. I had never looked at any of the jest testing methodologies. It's a fantastic framework. I think we learned a lot. So our deep gratitude for joining us tonight.
No problem, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and we'll MuleSoft will be, remember, update your calendars. MuleSoft with me, kind of intro down in dirty basics, will be December 9th. And Jitendra, I'll reach out to you and see if you're able to attend and help me out. If not, thank you again very, very much.
Sure. No problem. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Jitendra. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thanks. Thank you all.